I used to believe that as long as you did your research, you were thorough, you followed the science, that you could pretty much solve most problems, particularly in terms of mental health and relationships. And so my background is in psychology. It's in clinical psychology. Ooh, excuse me, got a piece of hair right there. Sorry. Um, my background is in clinical psychology. And so one of the things that was drilled into us was just knowing how to do research, knowing to be able to notice, like, if just because one study showed something does not necessarily mean that that's gospel truth. You have to find it, have to find out essentially how that study was created. What were, the participants, what were the methods that were used, what was the data collected, like was the way the data was analyzed. So like there was a wide range of things that I learned from clinical psychology, which I'm super grateful for. One of the things that I wanted to work with specifically is I really wanted to work with kids when I first started off working in psychology. And the reason I wanted to work with kids is because I wanted to work with those who I felt like things were going on wrong in their lives and in their families. And for whatever reason, they were not able to cope. And they were in situations a lot of times that they couldn't get out of. They were dealing with things that were beyond their ability to be able to handle and manage. And so I wanted to be that one person that was there for those kids. So I was very diligent about what school I wanted to go to, what program I wanted to get my degree in, because I wanted to have the best set of skills that I could possibly have to be able to help kids. As I started working in the field of therapy, I started noticing my limitations as a child therapist and started noticing that, goodness, if I could help out the parents or the caregivers that are in charge of this child, not to say that the parents or the caregivers, it's their fault while the child is experiencing mental illness. There's a wide range of things that contribute to that place of mental illness in children. So definitely not playing the blame game here on parents. That's done enough. But what I am saying to that is I believe that, okay, if I could help the caregivers, if I could work with them, then maybe I could help the kid's life even better. And there's a lot of evidence and data to support that. If you take a look at family therapy and just how we do that, a lot of that evidence and data shows that it's best to work with caregivers first. Definitely provide some support for kids who are the identified patient, but provide support for the caregivers and help them in terms of being able to have support because it does wear on, particularly if they're in a partnered relationship, it does wear on their bond, which wears on their ability to be able to show up for that kid in the way that they need to show up. So I was like, okay, couples therapy, gonna be right there at it, gonna do the thing. I will never forget, I was sitting there in my supervisor's office. He was doing some family therapy with a couple, and I'm not going to go into HIPAA information, but this couple was arguing, and by the end of the session, the couple was hugging each other and they were crying. And my supervisor was just so happy. He was so pleased just with how the session went. And I remember he turned to me at the end of the session. He said, okay, so now, Virginia, who was in the most pain? And I wanted to say, it's me. I'm in the most pain because in that moment, I just kind of snapped back into being a little kid and watching my parents arguing. And so I froze, to be completely honest with you. And so it was hard for me to sit with this process of, yes, I want to help kids. I think I want to help couples, but they're scary and a lot's happening in my nervous system, and I don't know what to do with it. So I sat in with my supervisor for a lot over and over and over and over and over again, and was scared to get married myself because, again, I was like, I don't know how all of this works, but I want to know how it works, and I believe in science, and I trust that there are some answers here that can help us be able to find a way of getting back to each other's hearts. Because if we get back to each other's hearts, then everything will work out just fine. And I had this shirt, Love is the Answer, that I used to love. I loved, right? Um, and and I believe that, and I've seen love heal and do so many amazing things. I'm like, okay, how can I figure this part out? I will never forget it. I did a workshop called The Science of Love. And in that workshop, The Science of Love, there was this clinician and researcher. She was going into all these details, all this information, all of this research, but not quite telling clinicians, okay, how do you help couples do the thing? How do you help them rebuild their bonds with each other? Other models that I studied, it really kind of went a lot into how to help people negotiate, how to help people take time out to not argue, which is nice and that's great. And I love that. But I just was noticing that people still were almost like roommates. And I was like, okay, this is not quite what I need. And so I just kept doing my research, did the CEU course, was like, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours of CEUs. And I really thought I was going to get the magic sauce in there, only to get upsold and told, oh, if you really want to get more information about this, you've got to come to an externship training. And so this externship training was thousands of dollars by the time you added in the tuition for it, the room and board, um, travel costs to get there. It was just very expensive, particularly um, from a therapist who works in a lower income area. I work in Pensacola, Florida. So Pensacola, Florida is not known for being the most affluent area. You know, it's not Miami-Dade, you know, it's not, you know, the Northeast, a city in the Northeast or what have you, where there are more affluent clients and also therapists are making more money. So I'm paying these prices for higher dollar, higher dollar training without higher dollar income. And so it was a huge sacrifice for myself and my family. But still, I believed, I'm like, okay, love is the answer. Love is the answer. If I can find out how to do this, then I will have the answer to be able to help all these kids, to be able to help all these families. Because I don't know, because I didn't see it growing up. My parents, my mom and my dad, my biological mom and my dad, got a divorce, and so um, I did not want that for myself. I did not want that for future generations. So I'm like, I have to figure this out, not just for my clients. I need to figure this out for me. And so did the training, found out that there was more training. Every time there was a training, and anytime they opened the door, I was paying the money, doing the thing, whatever I had to do to get there, I was getting there because I was so dedicated to the thought process of love and repair and connection and closeness. And I believe that, and my nervous system just yearned for that and desired it with every cell in my body, because I believe that if it was secure and if it was safe, then that was going to be the way that we changed the world, right? Um, so did all the training, did all the things, worked with lots of couples, and I was able to watch the magic happen. I watched a lot of couples go from this place where they were in absolute distress, or maybe not necessarily outward distress, but like an inward distress where they're kind of like roommates, where they could navigate the household things and take care of the kids and do all those things. But in terms of their bond, there wasn't that sense of closeness. There wasn't that sense of, you've got my back. I know you're there for me. Um, if I'm broken, if I'm crying, if I'm overwhelmed, I know you're there for me. That piece just was missing from my work. So did all the training, did all the things, was able to see couples really and truly transform their lives, their generation, that generation, and then watch it transform also in their kids. It was exciting, it was exhilarating. But then I had some moments and times where I saw the magic didn't quite happen, where couples would say, you know what, we're at a place where we're not arguing anymore, and um, we need to have a divorce. Like, I'm done. One person says I'm done, or both parties say I'm done. And, we're glad we did this work, but we're done. And earlier in my work as a couples therapist, like it was devastating. It was hard. But I saw the beauty of being able to help those folks to separate in a way that was respectful. And so I thought to myself, this is beautiful work. I'm glad to at least be able to help them here. I was not able to help them to that place of just really, truly repairing their bond with each other. And at least I'm helping them separate in a way that's respectful. At least I can do that. And I thought, yes, this is still good. It's not the win I was looking for, but it's still a win for this couple. It was still a win for this family. So time went on, and I still believed in my personal relationships that if I used the research, if I used the things that I had learned and that I had studied and that I had believed, it almost became somewhat of a religion in terms of my belief system around how to repair bonds, how to help folks rekindle the love that they have for each other, or how to help them to separate in a respectful manner. Um, I believed that I only had so much control or influence over, the parties that were sitting in my office. But I believed that in my own personal relationships, that I could do the things, I could use the research, I could make sure that I was responding in ways that were respectful, ways that were responsive, ways that showed that I was available for folks and truly show my care and truly show love to everybody that was in close proximity to me. And I did that. And I felt so good and so secure about it. The place that I started recognizing where I was wrong is not only does that not, love is not always enough to help the couples come into my office, it's also not enough in my own personal relationships. And that is that is not easy to say because it's a place where I felt like I had more control. Like I can control how I respond. I can control how I show up. I can control how I text people. I can be there for them. I can listen. I can know their story. I can work on being a better listener. I can make sure that I'm the one that's able to show them that I'm here and I'm available. And I make mistakes, but I'm still here and I'm available and I love you and I care about you. And in that process, I still saw relationships fall apart. And it was a spot where I had to go back to the drawing board. And um, part of how I go back to the drawing board is I get quiet, I retreat, I start reviewing my data. So for me, it was reviewing text messages. For me, it was reviewing emails. For me, it was replaying conversations and like, okay, and this is how I think I responded, and this is what I think happened. Let me double check my text messages. Let me double check my emails. Let me triple check it. Let me ask my husband to read it. Let me reread it. Let me sleep on it. Let me try again. Maybe after a massage or after a walk, maybe I'll be at a place where I have a little bit more clarity. Um, and and I looked at some relationships that were very near and dear to my heart, still are actually very near and dear to my heart. And it didn't work out. Um, as a couples therapist and who's trained in sex therapy, I'm also very familiar with consent and realizing that sometimes people do not consent. They may consent verbally to want to be in a relationship with you, but their bodies may be doing something completely and totally different. And I've had people who I've cared for and still care for to this day um, very deeply. And I have finally stopped rereading the messages. I have done that. Um, but I've really had to sit with this place of this person has chosen to not consent to have a relationship with you. And you're going to stop responding. You're going to stop sending messages because no response is a response. They're saying that they want to be in a relationship with you, but their actions are not lining up with it. One of my favorite music artists, just in terms of just raw talent, is Mariah Carey. And she's always been a favorite of mine ever since I was a little girl. And I would try to, in the shower, belt out those whistle notes. And there's one song that she has called Butterfly. And I'm not going to embarrass myself by trying to sing even the chorus of that song. Um, but the lyrics of that song helped gave me a sense of peace where I felt like the research had gaps. That people are allowed to choose what works best for them. People are allowed to make decisions that are hurtful to you, despite how much you love them, despite how much you want to support or care or be there for them. You may never know they chose to not continue a relationship with you. You have to get closure on your own. And again, as a kid whose biological parents got a divorce, I had a very early lesson with this in terms of my biological father who chose not to have a relationship with me and who chose to make it my responsibility. And so, as a therapist, as a trauma therapist, as a couples therapist, I had to sit with the reality of something that I learned very early in life is that you can't, even if you love people, you can't make them want to be with you. You have to let those butterflies go and do their own thing. And it does not necessarily mean that that person is bad. It does not necessarily mean that that person is evil or whatever. It just means that that relationship is not going to work because that person has chosen either consciously or subconsciously that they don't want to have a relationship with you. And it sucks and it's painful and it hurts. And you're left with one of the worst questions I feel when I walk with people who are grieving is why? It seems like that question haunts people the most. Why? You may never, never, ever know why. You may never get it, that answer. They may not even know the answer to that. And so then the question becomes, can you heal anyhow? Even if you never get the why, you never get the closure, even if your love wasn't enough. And so I'm here as a witness, not only on the clinical side of things, but I'm also here as a witness on the professional side of things. Um, I'm sorry, clinical side and on the personal side of things. Sorry, that you can heal, even if you never get the why. And it's okay when your love is not enough. It's okay. That person's not bad or evil or what have you. You're not bad or evil or what have you. It's okay. It's okay for people to not consent to be in relationship with you. So this is some hard truth to sit with for my nervous system. And I recognize that it probably was hard for others of you. And at the same time, I'm hoping that these are words that is resonating with somebody out there who needs to hear, who's been looking for a sign. Please give me a sign. Please give me a sign to know what to do with this relationship. Please let this be the sign that it's okay for them to leave. And it's okay for you to take responsibility for your healing and for any lessons that you could have learned with the information that you have. So, thank you for this time with me. My name is Virginia. I'm a licensed mental health therapist, and I hope to see you next time. Take care.